Good afternoon and welcome to Deep Rooted, a business podcast with our co-host Tyler LaChapelle and special guest Addison Hebert. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you, Addy. Happy to be
Yeah,
back here, Matt.
Absolutely. You guys have your alcoholic beverage of choice?
Yes, I
absolutely.
do.
All right, cheers. Let's get going.
Cheers to that.
My camera's over here. Okay. All right, Addison. So today we're going to be talking about the different, I want to call them tiers. Let's call them tiers, right? So you worked in a lot of different tiers of business, everything from family owned to small business to multi-level business to executive business and everything, right? You've had tons of experience in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked with a bunch of different constructed companies.
And then the first business that I want to talk about is one that I think you and I both share a very fond memory of. It's called Mackey's. Now, Tyler,
Mackey's where the home grows.
did you know that both Eddie and I both worked at Mackey's at the same time?
I believe I've heard stories
Yeah,
and rumors.
it was beautiful. I think it was one of the best jobs that we've ever had together. Yep. I think.
A lot of good memories there.
But for everybody that doesn't know, Mackey's was a home, what was it, farm grow kind of plant.
Yeah,
Oh
home
yeah,
farm garden.
yeah, home farm garden. There we go.
Nice family-owned business. Very nice family, the Therians. They're still going strong now. Good to see them still in business.
So when we were working with them, they had three locations, correct? And the original location was in Southern Connecticut, right?
Willimantic.
Willimantic, yeah. Yeah. So they're like the prime example of start a business and then start growing the business. They started with the one family-owned business and then started branching out into the different aspects. And the one thing that I was pretty interested in was their choice of location for the one that we worked at,
Mm.
because if you look, like, what's the closest competition to them?
Well, nowadays they have, runnings, obviously.
Yeah.
But back when they opened, it was just them and Putnam Farmers, and they kind of closed in on the area because of that.
Yeah. So they took advantage. Well, that's the other thing is that because of what they were, they took advantage so hard of everybody who was doing that business in the area. You know what I mean? So Woodstock is primarily farm scene, cows, horse, chicken, anything like that, and they were just servicing the area that they were in better than I think the Putnam farm was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And they've definitely grown themselves bigger than a lot of the other local businesses couldn't keep up with, to the point where now they are doing full deliveries to local farmers.
That's
And even when they had their original location just in Willimantic, people in Woodstock didn't know about it.
Yeah. So then when they opened up in Woodstock, did you ever discuss? I know Tyler was curious about what do you think that they used to advertise themselves?
They definitely used a lot of good old paper advertising. I feel like that's how you reach the farmer demographic of a rural area like Woodstock. Um, the shopper's guide, mostly, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was curious about. Like, as someone who didn't work at Mackey's or unfamiliar with that like kind of market, like how did they grow beyond what was already here? Like what made them different than like the Putnam one?
Yeah, I think in a small town like Woodstock, it was just easy for them to spread through word of mouth because one farmer goes and he has a pleasant experience. He liked it more than the last place he was shopping. He tells his buddy's got five more farmer friends that he tells.
Yeah. Word of mouth is powerful. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
better for business than referral base.
Yeah, that's the organic growth that you see that's not based on what we do, which is developing that kind of inorganic using ads and everything like that, trying to get people to click and go and visit and everything. So Mackey's did well. Mackey's is still doing well. I believe the last time we checked on them, they had their own truck finally, which is a big accomplishment.
Yes, I just saw that. It's beautiful.
Yep. So they're on the path. They'll probably keep expanding as long as the Zach, who's I would say, what was the two sons' name? It was Zach and
Zach and Terry.
yeah. If Zach and Terry just keep continuing in the way that they're going, I'm sure that that business will just keep, expanding. Obviously, I'm curious about what COVID did to them, but everybody still needs to feed their horses, feed their animals, so I don't see that being too much of a detriment.
Right.
But, and then you moved on from Mackey's.
Yeah, so I mean, nothing against Mackey's. They were excellent to me. They even gave me a internship when I worked for them. They really went over and above to help me as a student. But sometimes the bigger fish just gets out there, and you take that new job offer to give it a chance.
Yep. And then where was the job offer for?
So I took a job from Mackey's towards Runnings, which was a new competitor coming to town. Very, top mental drama. A lot of stir up in the town between who's going to be the best in town after they come in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They were like the Walmart of chicken feed. So
Yeah, absolutely. I would call them the Walmart of family-run business.
yeah, because they were also a family-run business, right? But they were in kind of that second tier.
Yeah, they are what we would call a family-run corporate operated business.
Yeah, that's.
I heard a rumor that when you worked at Runnings, you've also worked at locations prior to where Runnings was.
Yes, definitely. My first job was at the same building at Sears.
Yeah.
16-year-old, folding towels, men's clothing.
Yep. How long ago was that? That was back when you were just 16?
Yeah, so 2010.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy times.
Nothing survived in that little place except for Runnings.
No, I mean, I could totally see why, too. That was probably my least favorite job I've ever had, just pacing the aisles for 8 hours straight, no customers in sight. You're just folding the same towels twice. You're unfolding your towels so you can fold them again.
That's the beauty of retail.
Oops, the stack fell off. Better get those.
Yeah, he'd call Tyler and I up, and we'd have to run in there and unfold some towels for him. That's what we did on our senior cribs.
Kept them busy.
We kept him busy with those towels. And then, so Sears was in there, and then I think Sears closed down, and then Kmart moved in there for a long time. And then I just got out of college, and they were having like a closing sale, and so I ended up working at Kmart for that closing sale. And the level, so when a store is closing, the level of I don't give a shit is so much fun. Like, you still get your work done, obviously they're still expecting. I remember our boss like pulling us like all together, everybody on the shift, and he was yelling at us, or speaking to us in a corrective manner, I should say. But he was standing on the what is that, the cashier's thing, and he was holding a tent, and he's like, "How much is this tent?" $159, because somebody sold it for like $85 or something like that. So he was very agitated, and he just made his point clear. Got on that table, started pointing out that tent, telling us how much it actually cost.
Why would the sales associate spike the price? Why did he pocket the extra 65?
I don't know. I don't even know who did it, to be honest. It was like a little thing that moved around the Kmart world for a couple of days. Who sold that tent?
Who sold that tent?
But then Kmart closed, and Runnings moved in, and at that time, Addie and I were working at Mackey's. I moved to a sign fabrication company. You moved to Runnings, and working at Runnings, you ended up moving up the chain pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, definitely. Runnings was very well to me in the matter that I had some good managers that were looking out for me. I was able to go in as a gun desk associate selling firearms, and then from there, within 4 months, I moved up to the farm pet manager, and then 6 months later, I found myself as the store assistant manager.
Do you think that them having the gun section made them more of a fierce competitor in the area compared to the other?
Absolutely. There's not two things that Woodstock people love more than guns and farm feed. And you can
They
mix
knew
them
their
together.
market.
Yeah, running's definitely knew their market.
I remember the local title being, "It's like a Cabela's and Tractor Supplies coming to town as one."
Wow. Let's talk about that for a second. So that's beautiful. The engagement of their audience and being able to like build that traction with just knowing who they're targeting, right? So that goes back to like if we were targeting people with SEO or if we were targeting email marketing campaigns or anything like that, it's building titles and building headlines that just like a call to action that's just perfect for the demographic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did that to a T. I mean, there's nothing rednecks love more than Cabela's and Tractor Farm Supply. So when you combine the two.
Yeah. Tyler, I was actually working on an email campaign for one of my verticals for a realtor, and the one thing that I realized the other day was what tricks you the most when it comes to emails. So you get an email from some company, and what makes you click on that email?
The clickbaited headline.
A clickbaited headline. Absolutely.
I do that. I love my headlines are like possible opportunity or have you heard of this or reaching back or following back up. Just things that
I like to get them angry. So like the realtor one, I said, I'm in my 20s and I bought my first home debt free. How did I do it?
How did I do it?
Find out how I did it. I mean, if I'm that appeals to like so many different demographics when you're talking about like 20-year-olds who actually want to know how I did it. And then there's the 40-year-olds that don't actually believe that I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can just span that entire thing and I just want to get you to click on it. And then at the bottom, I had like a little bit of information on what we talked about prior. With like at the bottom I put if I could get you to read this far, imagine what I could do to your clients or something like that.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
It's
started.
like those bus stop ads, the ones that go, "See, you read this."
Yeah, I love Subway and bus stop advertisements. Do you guys remember when we went to Porter, the Stairway to Hell?
Oh,
Yes.
trust me, I remember.
I don't remember any ads. I'm sure they were there.
Yeah,
I was just focused on not dying.
So, if anybody doesn't know, in Boston, there's a station called Porter Square. And to go to the subway, you have to go down, what would you guess, like 120 feet, just vertical drop?
Of stairs. It's
of
like at least
moving
like 1,000
stairs.
stairs. It's scary. It's dark. It's intimidating. It's like a black hole at the bottom. You don't know what you're going to. It's a void. Oh my god. Not great if you've been inebriated. It's
Dude, it's so scary sometimes because the stair will go like this, and then you'll be standing on it, and then all of a sudden it'll hit like a kink in the mechanism, and it'll just go like this a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have to like stay on your heels. So like, anybody who's been in Boston, lives in Boston, and knows about Porter Square knows about this like highway to hell kind of thing. But yeah, the best advertisement that I've seen was like a stop motion animation for a ballet on the subway. So like when the train car went by, the ballet person would be moving, which I thought was
cool.
like seriously cool.
Yeah.
And then the advertisement came up at the end. But isn't that like a unique method of just like taking...
Yeah, it's like guerrilla marketing.
Yeah. But there's... Living in the city, you get exposed to everything. Around here, it's just a billboard.
Yeah, if you even see a billboard. Or it's what you said before, like the shopper's guide. It's really hard to get advertising out here in rural areas. So, I mean, that's why, like you said, like Mackey's, word of mouth. Like that's like your trusted source of business.
Yeah. I think word of mouth is so important though, like you said earlier. I think even if you're developing sales as an entrepreneur or anything, if you're a media marketing designer for a company, whatever, I think word of mouth is so important. Like
how you facilitate that is like definitely one of the most primary things. Like even like even if you are doing something like digital advertising, like Google ads or Facebook ads, still like those customers that you work with from those lead sources, you want them to refer you out to people that they know.
Yeah. And you guys
That's what
develop.
it comes down to too. Is there's just so much trust in these little communities that if you get broken through to one person, they're all
Yeah.
gonna recommend you.
Mhm.
Yeah. The secret to like small area growth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Facebook groups.
True. That's something we haven't touched on. Facebook groups are like really key because if you
Oh.
can get a referral from someone in there, like that's next level. That's still that
Yeah.
word of mouth,
Yo,
but
I
it still
love
has that digital
Facebook.
aspect.
I love the monitors or the what do you call those things? The mods.
Moderators?
Yeah, the moderators of Facebook groups. It's always some girl named Chelsea, and
It's her full-time job.
it's her full-time job. You getting paid for this? No, just do it because I love it.
There was a very strong drama ensued in the Woodstock Proud group. There was Woodstock Proud 1, and the people of Woodstock Proud 1 were not happy with the moderators, so they rose up and they made Woodstock Proud 2.0. And they took all
Ooh.
the community from Woodstock Proud 1, and now no one uses it.
That's crazy.
Isn't that what's happening in the U.S. right now?
Yeah.
They're
US
taking
Pride
US
1, US Pride 2.
Yeah.
I love this story. I know we talked about it off camera, but I love this story. The guy with the podium, like, he amazes me. He was so happy with that podium, like a
I just find
cartoon
it so
figure.
funny that no one, like, they had the opportunity to hide their identity by
Yeah.
wearing a mask, and there's not a single person there except for like maybe a couple that are hiding their identity. I'm just like,
They don't believe in
Oh.
masks. That was the whole point, right? Like half of them don't believe in masks or coronavirus.
That is a strong point. They don't want to be masked, because
Yeah.
it would just show that they believe in Corona.
But he puts the podium online on eBay and it got
Did he really?
126 bids, and it was
Wow.
at $100,000.
Did he
And-
even have a chance to sell it before he got arrested?
I mean, if he sold it, it would have covered his bail. So maybe that worked out. You know what I mean? But like, what crime is that? I mean, obviously it's stealing, which, but I feel like there's a more executive term, like,
Yeah. Stealing government property.
yeah,
Probably, I don't know.
stealing an unauthorized sale of government property. But there's those masks that came out because of the Hong Kong riots. They have like these AI masks that like kind of distort your face in some way,
Yeah.
so that facial recognition can't actually see you.
Wow.
I think those are really cool. I think some of the science that's coming out right now is actually pretty insane. Like the shields that let you it bends light around you.
Invisible. Yeah, the
Invisible.
invisibility shields.
Yeah.
That stuff is wild.
Yep.
Did you guys have that at Runnings?
We did not have invisibility shields at Runnings, unfortunately.
When you gotta break a horse, you gotta take out your invisibility shield. Actually,
We
wait.
did
Did
have
you,
a lot of fun tools, though.
on a serious note, did you sell like lasso rope?
Oh, absolutely.
That's
That's crazy.
The downfall of Runnings, their one downfall, is that they cater to a Midwestern crowd. So you
Midwestern.
take the Midwest, where everyone has 500 acres of farmland and has to lasso their cattle back into the pasture, and bring it to Little Woodstock, where a person has, 20 acres and they got 2 cattle. And they're like,
Yeah.
all right, well, I don't need this $10,000 machine or this lasso.
Yeah.
I just need the feed, please.
So they didn't fully understand their market. They had a pretty close idea of like what to cater to, but there's a few little nuances.
Yeah, I believe so, at least. I think it also had a lot to do with just using old technology for their buyers and just it being easier for them to cater a wide variety of SKUs to all stores.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
What was their marketing that they used in store? Was it?
We did a lot of Facebook ads. They're very active on Instagram, too. But, they travel a lot of word of mouth, too, just because they aim for pulling at the family business heartstrings.
Even though they're so large, but yeah, it still works,
And I imagine
Yeah.
they also get a lot of repeat business.
Yeah.
Just because like once you find a place that you like for that kind of like products, like I mean, I would go shopping at Runnings not because I'm a farmer, but because they had a great selection of custom or like not custom, but like uh, I don't know what you would call it. It was like specialty sodas. So like not like major, like not Coca-Cola produced. It was all like little kind of like
Boutique brands.
yeah. So I was a loyal customer of Runnings because I would always go there shopping at least once a month for these boutique sodas. And while I was there, I'd pick up other things like dog food or like airsoft, like targets and stuff like that. So I mean, they got my business just because they had something niche that you couldn't find anywhere else. And I would just shop for convenience while I was there.
And that's how their whole store was set up too, is they put the most viable items in the back of the store, like farm feed and guns, so that when you're going in to buy those things, you walk past all the cool toys and hardware. And home goods.
That's actually really smart.
Yeah.
Making sure that you see everything before you just get the thing that you want. I mean, that's my little golden nugget out of this conversation for my website is like make all the stuff that people are looking for. I mean, you have to think about user experience in some regard, but still putting the things that they're going to search for behind something else that you want them to see first to get them considering that. So
that's exactly what the first manager of the Runnings when we opened up used to say, is that when you have a new audience member walk in, or a new customer rather, walk into your business, that they're going to do one ocular scan. That's like the first thing people do to like make sure the area is safe. It's like an instinct thing. And they go from the top of the store to the bottom. So if you line the top of the store with all the cool stuff on the top shelves that you can see from the front, they're going to get a gaze of everything we carry all in one view.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That's unique. I never even thought of it that way, but that's totally true.
It's super important. I worked retail for a long time, and they always talked about like impulse buys, which is so you know who does it best? Have you guys been to Burlington Coat Factory or like one of those like TJ Maxx or whatever where they make you snake before you get to the register?
Yes.
That's that whole wall is called impulse buy.
Good at that.
Yeah. Dude, I watched this woman. I was buying pants, and I was watching this woman go through the line, and I had to like stay behind her. I didn't want to be rude. I wasn't really like in a rush or anything. Like I'm gonna like elbow this girl into the impulse wall and like, go around her just to get these pants. But she took a solid 3 or 4 minutes to get up to the register because she would just stop at all the impulse buys all the way through.
Damn.
Yeah.
Some people really fall for it.
Yeah. I was watching Community, and I think the term that I would like to use for that, I don't know if it's a joke term or if it's like real term in the industry, but it's called level 7 susceptibility. In this case, the gentleman was working for Honda, and the president of the school had level 7 susceptibility and would buy like all the Honda gear. So he had like a Honda leaf blower, a Honda like snow blower, and like he would just buy whatever. But
that brand loyalty.
There's a bunch of people that are at those different levels of susceptibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think your target when you're creating advertisements, and that's what like most of the businesses, especially the next business that we're going to talk about that you work for now, Addison, but I think that they end up going for those 2 to 3 susceptibility. And you know, obviously if you're capturing the 2 to 3 or even the 1, you're capturing everybody else on that list, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just the marketing campaigns finding out what exactly they are susceptible to, what's going to be so in the terms of clickbaity, you know, or in anything. Like what words can they say, what phrases, what's going to interest them, what's going to engage them. But moving on to that business. So when did you leave running?
So I left Runnings on December 2nd of 2019.
Dang, got an exact date for us.
Yeah, I was expecting a general, but comes out the gate. I like it.
At 3:44 p.m.
It was a Tuesday. I could still smell the eggs in the air when I got that phone call.
Because my last day at Runnings was my first day at Nulo, and I was jumping on a flight, so I have a ticket for December 2nd.
Where's the scrapbook?
Yeah, right.
But so you went from Runnings to Nulo, and what is Nulo?
Yeah, so Nulo is a pet food company. Once again, independently owned, but not family owned this time.
Mm-hmm.
Just one solo CEO who's doing a really great job holding it down. We really benefit off hitting the new waves in the market.
Okay.
So you guys are like surfers, riding whatever swell comes in. I like
Riders
that.
of the storm.
We're like my CEO always says he wants to be a smaller Apple.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you break
It's like
that
what he's
down?
known for.
A small.
So Apple's always on top of using all the new technology and exploiting
okay.
the new technology and new ideas for everything.
Mhm.
That's what we do at Nulo. Is we jump on the trends. We jump on TikTok. We jump on, a probiotic in the dog food, things like that are good for the dogs, but also people are trending towards right now.
Mhm. I like it.
So
What's-
what are like they're very like digital savvy. So they have all these things that optimize their business. What would you say is like because this is like probably more successful than other businesses you've worked at. What would you say are the most important digital optimizations that they've made to like help their success?
We put a lot of time and effort into catering towards a good social media gathering.
Mm.
And at first thought, you think of that and you're like, okay, a person can make a good social media that's appealing to people. But listening to these people that work on it at my company break it down, they talk about how they've done studies to see, yellow on a Sunday makes people feel dopamine in their brain. So they post the yellowest flowers with some red M&Ms, so all natural colors,
Mhm.
not filtered, just to trigger dopamine effects in people's minds.
Wow, they got science behind it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Social media is important though. Like that's the thing. I've been listening to a lot of Gary Vee, and he's like the social media like king essentially. And that's something now that's like my big plan for 2021 is really taking the time to build out a good social media like page content and make that a focus of my business.
Yeah. That's something that I know we discussed off camera as well. Was trying to dive into that this coming weeks for both of our businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's truly the most important like kind of acquisition channel out there right now. That's where most people are spending their time online. It's where you can find everyone. I mean, those platforms are built specifically for advertisers. That's how they make their money.
Yeah.
So like as an advertiser or a business or anything, like even if you're not a digital advertiser, you still have to be on social media and engaging with it. Like that's got to be like a priority.
Here's a question. I recently came into conflict with somebody about this. So I know my answer. I want to hear you guys' answer, what your opinions. What do you think should come first? It's like the chicken or the egg. Website or social media?
I think it depends on what your skill level is. I would say for most people, most businesses and most people, social media because it's free. It's a simple solution. You don't have to be the best at it. But if you really know what you're doing, if you're truly trying to be like a professional and be someone that's like a go-to for something, you can't just be relying on social media because it puts you a tier below anyone else that has a website already.
Yeah.
I think I shot myself in the foot a little bit by putting my website above social media first. I mean, I build websites, so it's hard to say. So I have to have a website, but I mean, at the same time, like social media is still so important that I think that is a priority above a website, especially if like you're going to build your own website, it's not going to look professional.
Mhm.
So like if you're just going to have a Frankenstein website and like no social media presence, like you should just stick with the social media presence. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. What about landing though? So like a lot of advertisements want you to land somewhere. Is it okay to just direct them to social media instead of directing them to a website until you can afford doing the website?
Yeah, I mean that's how I would say. I mean, but the problem with that, the reason, like I'd say it's like the worst case scenario kind of option. And the reason why I say that is because if you're directing people to social media, it's really easy for them to get distracted in a second and be gone.
Yeah.
So when you send them to your website, that's you're
Your
getting
funnel,
their
yeah.
attention exactly until they leave.
Yeah.
Social media is designed for them to get distracted and stay longer engaging with it. So they're going to see
100%.
Yeah.
I always thought of it as a retention tool. Social media is used as a retention tool, while a website is used as an engagement tool. And like I don't know, my personal opinion is I think you should have a base. You should, well, first thing, and this is my golden nugget to any of you guys out there. when you're thinking of a business, make sure that the name of the business that you want is available on every single social media and domain platform. I made a lot of businesses for an old entrepreneur that I used to work for, and I would run into this issue all the time where like he would give me a domain name, I would go get it, and then this was when I was first starting out, and then I would check later and be like, oh, well, it's not available on Facebook. So what do you want to do? And the guy was always just like, just add like an M. Just just add an M in there. I don't care where.
Das MM.
Das M&M. But that's my little golden nugget for anybody who wants to start out. I know a lot of people are probably like, oh, that's just like second nature, or like that's intuitive. But you know what? Some people out there, it's just check all the outlets before you pick a name.
And make sure you don't already have a competitor. Like that's something I've seen
100%.
so many times working with people. They're like, oh, I think my name should be this. And then I do a quick search on Google for that. And I'm like, there's already 3 people in this area with that name. You sure you don't want to be another one?
Yep. Yep.
Hopefully my current client doesn't see that.
Yeah, we won't show him the podcast. I'll block him from the podcast.
But it's seriously an issue, and it's just frustrating from an SEO perspective alone. Like, not to mention all the other things. It's just like it just makes it more difficult than it needs to be if you just do your research beforehand.
Yeah. All right. So Nulo being a larger company, and I know we didn't talk about this yet, but you were recently sick, right?
Yeah, definitely. I got the COVID caught up to me.
The COVID caught up. You got the positive test. How did your company handle it? Did you think they handled it well?
Yeah, I would say they handled it much better than other companies. You know, obviously my girlfriend Becky got COVID too, like I told you guys.
Yeah.
And she works at an unnamed large company, and just seeing the difference between how my company was taking it and how her company was taking it was night and day. It was just the big difference of, all right, well, make sure you're well first and then touch base with us after you're well. And, you know, they kept checking on me. They supplied me everything I needed. I was able to work from home. They were adaptive with me, compared to where Becky works, where they were really just like, all right, well, take 8 days off and we'll see you then for full hours again.
That's crazy. I mean, and the thing is, it's like you're both working at successful companies, but like how they're going about just taking care of their employees is dramatically different.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, do you have an answer to that? Is there an answer to that? Like, it's just.
I personally do have an answer for that, because I know for Nulo and probably much other companies like Nulo, you know, my CEO and the uppers of my company, the VP and everything, like believe in building a strong team that you can keep for a while. And in that same breath, if you're not a strong team member, you might not have a place on the team for too long. But if you are a strong team member, they're going to keep you around for longer. Once you build that relationship with people too, it's a two-way trust street. They're going to work harder for you than ever before.
Yeah, team is really, really important for like truly successful businesses. Like, unfortunately, I'm not at that point yet where I'm building a team, but I mean, I would love to be. Like, I mean, I've built a team in the past for my old agency that I was working with, and I've recently started working with them again, kind of as like a part-time thing. And like, I felt like a proud father seeing his like kid grow up when I like saw the people that I like brought on and trained grow into their positions and just be reliable and things like that. But I wouldn't consider myself like, that's not what I would say is like one of my best skills is building a team. I know from just like previous conversations we've had, like that's something that you've done in the past, maybe not for Nulo, but a question for you with that, like what do you look for in an individual, regardless of their position, to be a good team member?
You know, I really look for someone that can hold a conversation and in a compassionate manner too, because that tells you more about someone than we really ever think about. It just shows genuine feelings in a person if they're more down to earth like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. What if they're like super good at what they do, like nerdy and introverted, like can't have a conversation? Like, I feel bad for those people out there. They're not going to get jobs working with you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would depend on the role, largely. Obviously, in the company I work at now, that would be a very true matter to stand by for salespeople. but maybe not at runnings or something like that, where you're not as much dealing with people every day.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I fell victim. I sat in on a hiring because I worked for a really small company, and the HR lady ended up having me sit in on a hiring, and I went through a couple of candidates, and there were candidates that I really enjoyed, but you know those like personality traits where you can almost tell if they're gonna be a flight risk or not.
Yeah, I hate those. I
Yeah.
personally don't like. That was just something I personally avoided when I was hiring someone. I was like, sure, this guy's super talented.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the chops. This guy's got the skills. He can walk the walk. He can talk the talk. But he's going to be looking for the biggest paycheck.
Yeah.
So the second he finds that biggest paycheck, because right now he's looking for a job, and sure, he found this one, but that's because we're the only one that has what he's looking for the highest number currently until he finds the next one.
Yep.
Like I don't like to work with those individuals.
Yeah. There's no dedication there. They're just
Yeah.
Yeah, I fell victim to one of those at runnings. Unfortunately, it was one of the people that I hired solely, so it was my full effect. But it was a staff recommendation. Some guy's nephew or whatever. He was a really good guy, real down to earth, huge team player and everything. But we pulled him on the team. I went through loops to get him a little bit higher pay because he was fighting to get on. We finally get him in. 2 weeks in, he tells me, "Oh, I found another job, and they offered me $4 more."
that's harsh. I'd be so upset. Damn.
Yeah,
I mean, I understand being motivated by money in some regards, but at the same time, like, I don't. It's hard for me to like imagine. Like, I understand it, but it's hard for me to like truly understand why, because that's not my primary motivator. Like, my primary motivator is like happiness. Like, what job is going to make me the happiest, kind of position. So I always find those individuals so interesting. But I mean, there's reasons for it. That's why I understand it. It's like, sure, you might have like bills to pay. You might have like child support that you gotta like take care of. Like, there's
Yeah.
a bunch of reasons why someone might be like, well, that $4 more means everything to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a comfort level that people like to stay on because before, when I was working in the position, I was getting paid comfortably and I was living comfortably. You know what I mean? And then when you try to go off on your own, that comfort level kind of stops. You know what I mean?
I understand that.
You end up having to budget a little bit more and not going out. You can't, you got to take care of what you got to take care of, bills and everything like that. But I get the comfort level that is behind a big paycheck. But I think the people that last the longest, like you said, are the ones that are doing it for experience or because they absolutely enjoy the field more
Yeah.
than the paycheck. Like the paycheck is just a bonus thing to them. I think that's
One person that I particularly love their motivation for work, and this is kind of one of these other golden nuggets that I'm starting to realize from this conversation. If I am to build a team, like, something that I'm looking for as a primary motivator. Like, I think if I was ever to do an interview with someone, I might ask this question of like, what's your primary motivator for a career? If it's money, like, that's fine. I just want to know. And this one person I interviewed, Darby, this guy, he was just looking for a team he wanted to be like friends with. He was just looking for a great group of individuals because he was coming from an agency where it was just very like, you get the job done, you work overtime, and you don't talk to anyone. And he very much wanted to be part of like a family, for a lack of a better term. And he saw that potential with what we were working at IME, and he loved it. He loves that whole aspect of like meeting up for video games after work kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was his motivator. I found that so like, I don't know, I was grateful for that.
Yeah, everybody has their secret motivations that move them towards something. I think as a good interviewer, which I would say Addison has the most skills out of all of us when it comes to interviewing. I'm going to be honest, if I ever have to interview, I'm going to hire somebody that I trust to do the interview so I don't have to.
Yeah.
But there's secret, I want to say like, I don't want to say like innuendos because I know that's the wrong term, but there are secret things that people always hide in the interviews, especially when you're a professional interviewer. You know what I mean? Like they come out the gate, they're personable, which is something that you were looking for, Addison, and they can hold the conversation, but their mindset wasn't towards the job at all. And you wouldn't have guessed that because they're just professional interviewers, you know? So there's a lot of ways to get duped in business, basically, from the inside out. I think being too trusting is one of the ways that you can really hurt yourself in a business, especially if you're starting out.
I would say, like, you have to be skeptical of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of live my life with that philosophy. Like, if I feel like something's true, I'm still skeptical of it.
Yeah.
Just in that chance, what if? I just like to entertain that thought.
I like to entertain those thoughts too, but I end up playing scenarios. So like I'll play like 100 different scenarios of what they could do. So I try to not. That's again why I would just hire somebody. I would just hire Addison. I'd be like, Addison, you got an interview.
Yeah. I mean, almost
12
everything I've learned from interviewing was from Addison.
Yeah.
There we go. Bring me in.
Do you have any crazy stories from runnings when you were a manager?
There's a handful of them, obviously. One of my favorite stories is the time I found a gun in the bathroom. Which I hope I can talk about without any legal repercussions. I don't think there's any type of case on it or anything.
Okay.
But, we're doing what managers do. We're doing a bank run. We've got our walkie-talkies on. They go about 2 buildings over. Luckily, at Runnings, we just use the bank next door. So I walk over there with myself, the assistant manager, and then the store manager is with me, who is our new store manager who had just taken over the area. I'm kind of showing her the ropes of the store, teaching her like the teammates' names, whatever, how the team operates and stuff like that. So we hear some static coming from the radio, and it's like, and then I was like, what do you guys say? And I pick it up. I'm like, what did you guys say? And I just hear clear as day, Addison, they found a gun in the bathroom. So I look at Daphne, and I already can tell she's not comfortable with guns or whatever. Her face is just white, and her mouth is dropped. She's like, and I was like, are you okay if I go check that out and like you finish up the deposit? And she's like, yeah, go please. So, I run into the store, casually running across the store, past the cashiers and everything. You can tell everyone's like in on the logo because this just happened over the radio. All the cashiers heard it and everything. Everyone's snickering. Yep. I get to the back bathrooms and there's probably like 4 or 5 associates just standing in a line outside the bathroom. And I open the door and there's 2 more associates just standing there like staring at the stall. I'm like, what's up, guys? Look in the stall and there's just one of those holsters that's magnetic clamped onto the back of the toilet seat paper holders. So gun in holster, loaded, cocked, ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah, just the safety holding it back. That's the part that really bothers me, like I get it, people are forgetful, whatever. But if a kid went in there, dude.
Oh,
like,
yeah, dude. It could have been a recipe for not success.
Yeah. So, I grab the gun, instantly take out the mag. I feel like a hero. I disarmed the bomb. So I take it into the gun room where all the legal firearms are locked up and just, pump out all the bullets, put it on the table, all the bullets, mag's empty, gun is disarmed. We don't allow loaded guns in the gun room. And I called our sporting goods manager, who used to be a cop, and said, Dave, what do I do? This what happened. And he goes, well, is anyone claiming it? I'm like, I don't think so. And he's like, then call the cops.
Yeah.
So I called the cops. Troop D came. I'm waiting at the front of the store. The gun's all locked up. I don't have it with me, obviously, or anything like that. I see this guy sweating, barrel through the doors. And he runs up to me because I'm just standing there, in uniform with my arms crossed, whatever. And he's like, did you guys find something? And I was like, yeah, dude. And I had to call the cops. Like, I'm sorry, you can wait for them with me here. I didn't know how this guy was going to react. He's leaving guns around. He could have killed me. But he was just freaking out, having a horrible day. He explained to me he was a new gun owner. It got away from him. He's got kids.
Just got like a dog.
Yeah, dude, don't ever give this guy a dog, for real.
He said his kid was crying and it just distracted him, and he got in the car and
It's like forgetting your cell phone, except
Yeah.
way deadlier.
Went to go take a shit, took it off the magnetic holster, strapped it to the thing. Was like, I'll keep this right here for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants a toilet gun. If it falls in, you know what I mean? You gotta clean that. Take it all apart. It's not like a phone. You can't throw it in rice. Damn, so,
Crazy.
yeah,
Cops came. What happened?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know the result of it. You know, I never really talked to the cop after, but to be honest, the cop was a little bit rude about the situation.
Okay.
He came in and I said, you know, hey, this guy, I found a gun in the bathroom. He's claiming it's his. You know, I don't have any proof, whatever. I'm gonna put this in your hands. And the guy's like, you have his gun, so why don't you give it to him? I'm like, I don't know, because he left it. I don't actually know it's his gun. He has
This
no
dude did not
licensing
want to do
for it.
paperwork.
Yeah, for real.
It was like, I got 1 hour left on my shift. I am not doing paperwork for the next 5 hours.
So the legal repercussions for that is you're supposed to get your firearm license taken away and your gun taken away.
Damn.
But what I'm pretty sure is what happened is the police officer had me get the gun, give it back to the police officer. The police officer took this guy outside and just yelled at him in the parking lot for like 15 minutes.
Like with his
Just yelled at
gun?
him.
Like yelled at him? Like,
Yeah, and
"What the
then
hell
gave
you
him his
doing?"
gun at the end of it. And was like, all right.
Easier than
go
paperwork.
home."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
you're a gun owner, right? You're a legal gun owner?
yes, sir.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that gentleman? Do you think that he should own a gun if he's leaving it places?
No, I don't. Honestly. I mean, you know, when I carry my gun, that's the first thing on my mind at all times.
Yeah.
How people are perceiving that. I choose to conceal carry because I don't want people to perceive me in that way or see me as a threat when it's for my defense.
Yeah.
But because of that, I'm constantly thinking of, you know, you walk out of a room. Is my gun still in my holster? You get out of your car. Is my gun still in my holster?
Yeah. No, I understand. Like, I mean, I don't understand because I don't have a gun, but like, whenever I leave anywhere, I'm always doing phone, wallet, keys, so I have everything I need. Yeah, I'm cool beans. It's this little fucking rhyme.
Yeah.
I got to make sure I always got my stuff because I have a bad habit of leaving things places. I mean, if I was concealed carrying, I gotta redo that rhyme. But no, that stuff's important. Like, there's so much responsibility on you,
Yeah.
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 more so than just keys to your car.
So at Nulo, being such a huge business compared to Mackey's, compared to Runnings, what are some of the differences in management that you've seen?
You know, so I would actually correct you in saying that Runnings is much bigger than us, but we're much faster growing
Okay.
for our community. So I think one day we have the projection to be bigger than Runnings, but as of now, they're like a still billion-dollar company, and we're in the millions. But I think the difference in leadership is really just the boots in the water. Or boots in the mud, however that phrase goes, really. But boots on the ground. Yeah. You know, our CEO is involved in. Well, actually, let me back up in saying how this company was created, and this will explain my point to a T. So, our CEO graduated from BYU, moved out to California to create one of the biggest dog sitting companies. Before dog sitting was like this big thing where everyone did it. Before there was all these apps and everything, you know, he was one of the biggest companies in LA. And he got so big that he had 50 associates working under him in-house. And it got to the point where out of his 50 associates, he was sending 26 of them away to get learn how to give insulin shots to diabetic dogs. So, you know, he's always had Black English labs that he's cared a lot about. And this one in particular, you know, he was on a ride with Max III was his name. And it happened so that the dog was towards the end of its life. It was so sick it couldn't fly. So he had a big business trip to make. He decides to take a drive with his dog. I think it was like a 9-hour drive, something like that, something intense. So he spends a lot of time thinking about his clientele and everything, why these dogs are so unhealthy, different things like that, how a dog's life could be lasted and how valuable it is to pet owners. And he really just took all that information, moved to Austin, Texas, started hitting up all these people that he went to bioengineering school with, labs across the U.S., asking them their input. And from that, he sourced it all together and created Nulo in terms to be better than any other pet company,
Nice.
not in terms of money, but in terms of health.
Yeah, so his
Yeah.
his initial goal was not money, and I think that's
Yeah,
important. It
admirable.
was
Yeah.
it was
His
health.
primary motivator was
Right.
the love for his best friend.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know the full truth behind him, but if I had to guess, I don't think Nulo is his only pot of gold.
Okay.
He's a very successful entrepreneur. I think he has a few other companies, um, although Nulo is his most involved companies.
Yeah.
But so that really shows you that he's not really in the field just for the money. He's in the field because of the compassion that's driving him.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
my story I tell at the beginning of my trainings. It gets people hooked on Nulo.
Yeah. Is that what makes him so successful though? Is like the fact that there's a actual passion behind it or a motivator beyond money? Is that like, he truly cares?
I would say so. Every time I see this guy in conference calls and everything, he's always talking about different lab research they've done. They're always reaching out for the next best thing in pet nutrition, and they want to be the first people to hit it, really.
Yeah.
So it's like he's working hands-on with these developers to find the next thing, and he's so involved in the matter that he could walk you through every single step of what he
Nice.
makes of the company.
Yeah, that's the difference right there. Is a businessman who can literally tell you everything about the business, has walked in every single shoe. I think that's what makes a very, very, very successful businessman compared to somebody who just knows about it and then tries to make a business. But then when you ask them a question, they don't know the answer, or it's just
Yeah.
Delegation.
you lose
Yeah.
the respect for the person who doesn't have the passion. That's like the simple terms.
I was just talking to a business owner today who's like 2 years into this is a painting business. He's like 2 years into running this painting business, and this dude is like rapidly growing. He's like at almost $1 million in revenue for his
Nice.
second year. Like that's like insane growth. And he's talking about it's like who you know, not what you know. But he also likes to know everything about all these other things.
Yeah.
So like his whole thing is like he's building a team for everything, and he was talking to me specifically about Zapier integrations for his business. He knows how to do them. He set them up himself, but he wants someone else to take that care of that while he focuses on other things.
Yeah.
And that's what he does in every aspect. He's got like he has done project management, but he also has other people doing project management. He has done painting, but he also has a bunch of painters. He's done sales, but he also does like, and that's like something that like it's like one of those things that you see and you're like, oh, that's one of those factors for success is they can literally do everything that they're having their employees or subcontractors or whatever do for them.
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think that if you're an entrepreneur, you need to keep that, and you need to like always keep that mindset, like
Yeah.
while your business is growing or while you're trying to grow as a person. Because the last thing that we can talk about is growing as a person while your business is growing. And this'll lead us out, but I don't think you should ever stop learning. I think if somebody comes to the table with something new and something fresh, like Nulo's owner, you should hear it, you should try it. If it doesn't work, you don't do it, but you don't ever stop wanting to grow and learn as a business owner.
My personal rule for work, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys, but it's my 50-25-25 rule.
Mm-hmm.
So 50% of my time goes to actually doing the job or task at hand. 25% goes to support or conversations or just being a resource for my clients. And then 25% is specifically dedicated to learning and growing. Because that's what separates you from your competition if you can continuously offer more.
Yep, I 100% agree. All right, Addison, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, guys.
Thanks for
Definitely.
joining.
Absolutely. All right, we will see you again soon. Hopefully you'll be able to come back on, as long as that one company with the gun story doesn't get at you. But all right, thank you again, and we'll see you guys later.
Have a good one.